All right,
Hmm.
November 10th, 2022, day 290. Wow, we're almost on a year. All right, so updates. We got a few buckets. We're gonna go over health updates, travel updates, treatment updates, and some miscellaneous stuff. Hitchhiker's Guide to Cancer, a ride or die.
Hi.
All right, so we'll jump right in. First and foremost, as far as the updates are concerned, we'll start with health. Started OT, PT, so spent the past couple weeks sort of occupational therapy, physical therapy, just with the physical changes going on. Um, for those of you who haven't seen me in person, thing you'll notice, like yesterday, obviously the physical changes I mentioned, which have with my left arm, my left leg, um, it's you go through the OT and PT to try to help out with that. But also my leg is probably, I think, the most like concerning thing or the biggest challenge point for me and risk for me. But which led to when you see me, I am now the proud owner of a cane. So we received the cane yesterday. I'll be using a cane. And then through my occupational therapy, which is really focusing on day-to-day activities and really surrounding my leg and risk prevention around falls for me. I'll be spending, what do I have, like a few more weeks of that?
Yeah, I think we have 3 more weeks, 3 more weeks
Yeah, three
scheduled.
weeks for that. And then in general, not a pleasant topic to talk about, but we're also looking into in-home hospice, which sounds like kind of scary and not great to talk about. But essentially potentially turning this first floor into like an in-home hospice setup type deal. So we're not there yet, but we also want to understand what our options are and also be real to what sort of the future holds and potentially lead in that direction. So that's the health updates part, sort of me speaking for myself for a moment. Um, just the mental and the physical challenges, they still exist. Like going through occupational therapy, I pretty much one time per occupational therapy, I'll just break down and cry. It's just so challenging. Like it's like this reminder of what you can't do. And for me, being somebody who's tried to be so active and things have naturally come to me, like using your hand or whatever, like for them to say, hey, put on like your shirt or your jacket or whatever, and to not be able to do that, or to learn new ways to brush my teeth, all those things are just you take for granted, and they're mentally taking a toll on you because I'm spending an hour and a half focusing on the things I can't do. But my hope is after a few weeks, I will adjust. I'm already starting to make like accommodations and like adjustments in how I do things. But then um they're hopefully teaching me like going to teach me new ways that I can, you know, accommodate and compensate. With that being said, they also do like a risk assessment of the house. They give me recommendations on where to put like handles, because really the big thing is me being a fall risk and me hurting myself, which is more of a not if but when will happen. So just trying to be as safe as possible. Anything else to add or like your experience with that?
Yeah, obviously I've been with Christian kind of from day one, so I've seen the changes and the progressions happen um probably more slowly than those that are kind of in and out and seeing him at different stages. I mean, obviously the last update video that we did was in California, and
Yeah.
you were able to like open your hand, and now I don't even think you have any really use of your hand or your arm, or just kind of barely like we just started having, walking issues on that trip. And then
Right.
now he's at a cane, and that's just in a matter of weeks. So it's certainly been hard for me to watch Christian in this state and, watch the struggles and, obviously the breakdowns. And um, I think this is a good opportunity to say, as someone who cares for you and kind of like wants to always help. In the beginning, it was like I tried to just kind of intervene and just like, let me do it or let me do that. And I think maybe it would be a good time to share just like your thoughts on that, and like when people do see you, like how you want them to act,
Yeah.
because I think there's been some struggle in that as well for you right now.
Yeah, I've in general, I mean, I have it's pretty much guaranteed that I'll have a breakdown a day or two, like two a day. But yeah, I mean, it's really surrounding like this mental toll of like trying to manage the day, but knowing like I don't know what's going to come today and what challenge or struggle. And while I'm doing all of this, sort of keeping those emotions at bay, you also have people who I know they care for me and want to help, but like I'm trying to learn myself. And that's the struggle. Specifically, like my foot's the best example. Like it's like I'm trying to relearn how to walk. So I'll like stumble, I'll trip over something. And like getting out of like a car might be an issue, getting upstairs might be an issue. And I think people's natural inclination is to like want to help me. But the reality is like for me, since I've lost use of my left leg, I compensate on my right. So I'm trying to learn how to do that. What that means is I have to learn that on my own. And I have to learn like, okay, I can go this far before I fall, or I can do this. Well, what's happening is rather than me learning sort of my boundaries, if somebody's with me and I stumble, they may grab me. And that prevents me from learning my limitations, and then it will like counterbalance me and I'll get more frustrated because it'll throw me off and I could never truly learn. And so I understand it's kind of hard for the people that care about me to see me work through this, but allowing me to work through this, allowing me to struggle, allowing me to learn my new body and my new limitations is really important. Yet it's easier said than done because I mean, you've even experienced it, like getting out of a chair, like a couch. I'll get out and I'll like fall back. And naturally, your knee jerk is to grab me. Well, you shouldn't grab me. You should let me figure it out, learn it. And that's hard for me to not get frustrated because I try to remember people mean well, but I can't move forward without that. And like, for example, like people want to like, if I'm in a car, like open the door for me and like help me. And they're not, it's almost like they're not listening. If I'm like, they'll ask me, do I need help? I'll say no, yet they'll help me. And that's also rather frustrating because I just want people to hear what I'm saying and trust what I'm saying and believe like, and you can speak to this, like when I need help, I ask for it. I'm not too proud to ask for help. And I feel like I've done a fair job of asking you, particularly like to help me with certain things.
Yeah. Kristian still has his vocals loud and clear. So yes, it's difficult and I'm still learning, and I think the hovering is something that a lot of people are doing, and I'm
Yeah.
guilty of it too, of like watching his every move, or I kind of just like peek around the corner and try to see, like watch him to make sure everything's okay. But I guess what Kristian, obviously what you're saying is like, it's okay to ask if you need help, but if you say no, like respect that. And
Yeah.
Kristian, I mean, there have been times where you've said, can you help me with this?
Yeah.
And I will do it. And it's hard. It's hard to watch him struggle. It's hard to watch, someone try like fall or, try to
Yeah.
regain their balance because you want to help. But I think what you're saying is the help you can provide is just listen. And if I need it, I'll ask. And
Yeah.
I think this is just something, it's good to let people know, because I don't think people know what to do when they see
Yeah.
you right now.
And it's to me, it's almost like for maybe people in the future, like that are going through this, like especially as a loved one, it's frustrating because it's almost disempowering. It's like that person, if I'm asking you something, right? And like it's almost like you're not allowing me to trust myself. It's like you're passively implying that you know better. Like you're gonna save me even though I'm saying I don't need the help. And that's one of those things where I want to be in control of the the progressions that happen, and I want to be empowered to make my decisions for myself and move forward with them, because ultimately I hope I can know what's best for myself in my body as I'm learning. And I've never been too proud to like ask for help or admit I need help, or, even like quitting driving, all these things, like I could have been proud, but like I've tried to be really honest with myself on when I need to like step outside myself and really just ask. Um, so that's kind of the health update stuff. Um, we will be making changes to the house. It is tough just thinking about like those next stages, and especially I think the hospice part, like just thinking that that's on the radar is like, you never consider that, and it's kind of scary. But I also think it's maybe a little different than we think of. So it's the reality, and we kind of just want to be prepared as we can and gather information as we can. Travel updates. Is there anything else in the house or health updates?
No, I think you covered them all.
Travel updates. Oh, I am not crying in the shower every time. I was crying every time I showered. Now it's like maybe every other time. Travel updates. I have a couple days in Florida with some of my boys. So we're gonna do Florida this Saturday to Monday. For a couple days, I'll be down there. So that's personal travel. You're gonna be okay without me? We're worried about her without me. It's gonna be her first extended stretch without me.
Yeah, I'll find a way to fill my time with self-care activities for 2 days. So
We have Duke follow-up on the 28th and 29th. We'll be back there doing the MRI, typical stuff we've been doing. And then the next thing is the treatment options. Oh, and then Disney in December.
Mackenzie doesn't watch these, does she?
No.
Okay, that's a surprise.
Heck
Mackenzie's
no.
birthday is actually December 2nd.
Yeah.
And you're surprising her
Yes.
with a Disney trip the following week. So that'll be a big trip and exciting for the both of you. So, and me. I haven't been since I'm a kid, so I'll get to experience this as an adult now.
A little further out, and we'll see your parents.
Yeah, we do
Delaware.
Christmas in Delaware the weekend before Christmas. So
yeah, so we're just working out the holiday stuff. Treatment
and
options.
wait, and Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Maryland style
Thanksgiving. Yes, people, turkey is overrated. It's trash. You can't tell me otherwise. Maryland style Thanksgiving. Doing it at my uncle's house in Northern Virginia. Crab cakes instead of turkey. Tell me a better option.
I make a bomb turkey though. So, and he's never had my turkey, but we'll do crab cakes this year. And then we're also surprising Mackenzie with a cabin trip. Last year we went to my friend's cabin for a long weekend, actually at the start of like a snowstorm, and we had a really great time, and it was a great way for the three of us to like kind of disconnect from everyone and just be present and play games, have a fire, cook, watch movies. So it'll be really nice to have that.
Yeah, it'll be good. And that's kind of where I'm progressing. It's not going to be as many big trips. It's more kind of staying settled in Baltimore, keeping it like comfortable. There may be a trip here and there, but like energetically, I just want to conserve energy and really keep my body in a position to manage as long as we can, considering the treatment options coming up, which will segue into that. So do you want to break down the treatment options?
Sure. So Kristian just finished his first round of the etoposide chemo. He started that around October 14th, 15th. And
which is my fourth chemo.
Which is his fourth chemo that he's tried. And he's still getting the Avastin infusion treatments every 2 weeks.
And that's the immunotherapy.
Correct. And so he had gotten another MRI done here at Hopkins, which showed that there was progression of his tumors in, I guess, the 3 to 4 weeks since his last MRI at Duke at the end of September. And with that, Kristian was kind of presented with 2 options of treatment moving forward, since obviously the etoposide, the progression is breaking through that etoposide. But to be fair, that MRI was done kind of 2 weeks into the chemo. So really not allowing enough time to see for sure. But that said, we want to get ahead of things. So kind of the 2 options he's presented with is he could go with radiation therapy, which, would be more intensive in terms of just time spent in the hospital. Between Hopkins and Duke, They recommended anywhere from like 10 days to 20 days and consecutive back-to-back days a week in radiation therapy. And with that, obviously Christian would lose his hair, there would be brain swelling, there would be inflammation. So he'd have to be back on high steroids again, maybe more fatigue. And again, he would be restricted to being at the hospital and potentially missing some of these trips planned, especially Disney World, and just spending a lot of his time in a hospital. The flip side would be he continue on with chemotherapy. He would continue on with the etoposide, but we're going to be adding in another one called cyclophosphamide. And he'd be doing that every other week. He'd be flip-flopping them, but in some days he would be taking one chemo in the morning and one chemo at night. So he'd essentially be 2 chemotherapies oral, and then he would still have the Avastin treatment via IV every 2 weeks. And with that, there are also side effects. He could still, feel shitty, tired, nausea, headaches, but he won't be confined to like hospital visits, and he could stop them at any time if he chooses that it's just too much on his body. But because he's tolerated the other chemos well and his blood work and labs look good, they, are recommending he try this. And both options, we don't know what's going to happen, but the chemotherapy seemed like the lesser of the 2 evils in terms of what to proceed forward with, and that was the option you chose.
Yeah, I mean, so to be candid, like essentially, my primary and my local treatment are kind of at odds at what the treatment path is, and to the extent that actually when you do chemo, it has to be like consented for. So like locally, they don't want to prescribe the chemo because they want to do the radiation. And so I was told essentially, well, if you want to do chemo, we're not going to order it. You got to go to Duke and do the chemo. So I would have to fly down to Duke to sign a form to receive the chemo. They told me when my mom was in the room and she wasn't too happy about that, and it almost escalated. But bottom line is I was told by Hopkins that, listen, if you you can do whatever you want, but we don't agree with the path of Duke, we're not gonna prescribe the chemo to you. And it was not a great conversation, but it ended up being a good conversation because we convinced Hopkins to indeed prescribe the chemo. That is the path we're going to move forward with. Radiation could always happen. Now it could be later in the game, but like it could always happen. But I just felt like Lindsay said, like my body has responded well. Let's try it. Radiation is a pretty like aggressive move. And for me, again, I chose Duke and I'm going to stick with Duke as long as it makes sense. Anecdotally, they both make sense, but I do feel like the chemo path, the double chemo path makes sense moving forward. So a little dicey there. Mom almost had to I almost had to prevent her from taking down the doctor,
oncologist.
the oncologist.
Clearly this runs in the Castro
Yeah. But to her point in their defense, like, what I said to him was like, this is my life and I want to be in charge of those decisions. Like I understand, I appreciate his feedback, but at the end of the day, why am I not allowed to make my decisions for my life? And like, this is life or death. And like, I'm giving him permission to like, take that off his conscience, but like, you're telling me I can't, like, you're gonna like stop caring for me if I don't go your route. It just seems so insensitive and whatever. So it was just kind of frustrating because I could never imagine being in a seat where they're saying I'm not allowed to make my decision. So in the end, he did allow it. He is going to prescribe the new chemo. We're going to move forward with that. Stay tuned with it and just try to take it a day at a time. Last thing, just sort of like for me, miscellaneously, like just managing the adjustments, like I said, the changes, us trying to like really manage this, but also, again, like we mentioned last time, just stay present and like prioritize our relationship, prioritize ourselves. I've had some, like hopefully these adjustments come quick personally, but I've also had some hair loss beginning, so I think that's due to the chemo.
Yeah,
So I
like a
expect,
delayed effect of it.
yeah, I expect I'd probably I'll be bald here soon, so prepare for that. Lovely head of hair is gonna be gone soon, but that's been happening over the last 2 days. But again, it's weird because it happens and it's like easy to say don't, like no big deal, it's just hair. But it's just like pulling out your hair is just like it's symbolic, but it's like one of those realities that happens that you don't really prepare for. And I lost first radiation, I lost this part of my hair, but I fully expect to be bald. And that's like one of those things that it's just like the universe, like kind of beating you up, like seeing how much you can take and seeing if you can truly withstand all the punches. So it's just about rolling with the punches now. I am proud of us. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of you. Like, I think we're doing a great job. We appreciate the support, the love. Special shout out to Sheila, right? For the
Oh,
blanket.
yes, the blanket.
This-
Yes. We've
We've
been
been
using it quite
using
a
this
bit.
blanket we
Yes.
got. That's been awesome. I've been
Yeah,
sleeping well,
yeah.
but we're in a good place. With that being said, we love everybody. We appreciate you. More updates to come, and we'll see you soon. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Bye.
Bye.